Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I hope everyone is very well this evening. I just want to say hello to everyone who's on the stream tonight. So let's see, we have start from the top as always. Killer, great to have you on, Killer. Thank you so much for posting all those links and moderating tonight. We have Belfast, great to see you, Belfast. Dano, great to have you on again, Dano. We have Morag, great to see you, Morag. Verti, great to have you on again. Hope you're well. Ministerian, great to see you. We have David as well, great to see you, David. Brian, great to have you on. I like Lammerit, great to see you. Tiny Demolition Lover, great to have you on again, once again, that's great. Christian, hope you're well. Kenny, hope everything's well over in the US. Lenny, great to have you on again, Lenny. Hope things are fine with you. A Horse with No Name, fantastic song by, was it American? No, America, I think it was the name of the group. Then we also have Tom Nelson, great to see you, Tom. We have Jan, great to see you, Jan. QA Library, great to have you on once again. Archangel, great to have you on. We have Pete, great to see you, Pete, once again. Jamie, great to have you on, Jamie. Sky Blaze, great to see you. Who else have we on? Oh, we're up to 96 already. That's fantastic. Matchbox, great to see you, Matchbox. Hope you're well. Dude, fantastic to see you. Hope you're doing well tonight. Then we have David Clay, great to see you, David. Jamie, great to have you on, Jamie. Pete, great to see you, Pete. Magister, once again, a great pleasure to see you on. Nobby Heads, great to see you, Nobby. Then we have Angela, great to see you, Angela. I'm a Scottish nationalist, great to have you on. Kevin, great to see you, Kevin. Jamie, I said hello already to Jamie. Kevin, who else have we got? Brian, great to see you, Brian. Buonasera a tutti. Buonasera anche a te. We have Social, great to see you, Social. Night Raven, great to have you on, Night Raven. Hope you're well tonight. And I think Conservator, great to see you, Conservator. And apologies if I missed anyone. Aurelian Pop, great to have you on. Yanrar, great to see you. Xbox rocks. We also have Max are better than PCs. I haven't seen, I don't know if he's on tonight, but maybe he is. We have Cameron, great to see you, Cameron. Bob, great to see you, Bob. I hope you're well. Pauline, great to see you once again, Pauline. Adri, great. Stuart, fantastic. The Crazy Harry Dog. Once again, a great pleasure to see you. Leon, great to see you. Jerry, great to have you on. Marilena, great to have you on once again. Una, great to see you. Webmate, great to have you on. John, great to see you. Temps, Yatsakop, great to see you. Who else have we got? Alan, great to have you on, Alan. 55 Wolves, great to see you. Mrs. VSNC, great to see you. John, great to have you on. Matt Greek, great to have you on once again. Wee Scott's Dog, great to see you. Wow, we're up to 110. That's fantastic. Ramsey, great to see you. And Vic, great to have you on once again, Vic. Hope you're doing well. And Blue Fairy, great to see you. I think I've said hello to everyone. If I haven't said hello to everyone, apologies to those who I've missed. So I hope everyone's very well this evening. So, of course, a lot to talk about tonight. Well, first of all, just before coming on the stream, I listened to James O'Brien talking about Boris Johnson. And I haven't seen all of Boris Johnson's press conference, so we're going to see some of it tonight. But James O'Brien was extremely angry with Boris Johnson in the way that he presented a death toll of 45,000 people in the UK as a success. The idea that even though he made a lot of mistakes at the beginning, even though there wasn't sufficient PPE available for the NHS, even though he ignored calls from the European Union to join a program to buy ventilators and PPE, even though he ignored all of that, and 45,000 people minimum, probably much higher than that, are dead, Boris Johnson sees it as a victory, as a success story. So what would a failure look like instead? Boris the bluffer. I agree. So guys, unfortunately, once again, there is no super chat tonight. I'm in the doghouse, in the dog house, with YouTube. So unfortunately, but you can support the channel by becoming a Patreon. The minimum for becoming a Patreon is just £3 a month, and you'll have access to the Discord server where all the fun is. There's a good number now on Discord, and it's a lot of fun over there. So, or you can just give a once-off donation if you prefer, but of course, no obligation. Coming on the stream really helps, and we're up to 134 viewers at the moment, so that's fantastic. It's always a pleasure to chat with you guys. So we're going to talk about a number of different things tonight. The US approach to it, Boris Johnson's approach to the pandemic. Angela, you signed up to Patreon. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. The link will be on the stream as well. Get out the Duke house. There ain't room. Who gives it two thumbs down? Probably Brexiteers who came on the stream. Give me 2 thumbs down, but we can more than compensate that by 2 thumbs up. More than 2 thumbs up. Go a beats. What a mess. Jesus. What a... Donald Trump using the White House to promote companies that kiss his arse, basically. Well, should I say arse or ass? To our American friends, ass. To our European friends, arse. But I just want to go through some of the things that's happening at the moment with COVID, of course. It says here, we can watch a little bit of this interview between Chris Wallace and Donald Trump. And Donald Trump arguing that, it's not his fault. Everything is someone else's fault. So if this is working, hopefully this will work. We can just see this quickly, and then we'll move on to the next point.
You've seen deaths up in New York, deaths up in Chicago, shootings. How do you explain it, and what are you going to do about it?
I explain it very simply by saying they're Democrat-run cities. They're liberally run. They're stupidly run.
Liberal.
It's like, what are you going to do about it? And it's the Democrats. Bit louder. Unfortunately, I can't make it. Let's try this.
You've seen deaths up in New York, deaths up in Chicago, shootings. How do you explain it, and what are you going to do about it?
I explain it very simply by saying they're Democrat-run cities. They're liberally run. They're stupidly run.
Liberally run. The Democrat run. He just has buzzwords that he knows that his supporters want to hear. Democrat, liberal, stupid. That's all his supporters want to hear.
Liberal Democrats have been running cities in this country for decades.
Poorly.
Why is it so bad right now?
They've run them poorly. It was always bad, but now it's gotten totally out of control.
It was always bad, and now it's out of control. So, but can you give us a comparison?
And it's really because they want to defund the police, and Biden wants to defund the police.
Sir, he does not.
Look, he signed a charter with Bernie Sanders.
It says nothing about defunding the police.
Oh, really? It says abolish. It says defund. Let's go.
All right.
He doesn't know anything. He's been fed something by Fox News. Oh, Bernie Sanders wants to defund the police, and Joe Biden wants to defund the police. So, my God, this is ridiculous, this guy. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the full interview, so we can maybe see it maybe next time. I just want to go on to what's happening in California. So this idea that they're going to reopen the schools. So it says here, Newsom. So Newsom is the governor of California. Blocks in-person instruction for most California schools. California Governor Gavin Newsom has released guidelines for on the reopening of schools, tying reopening plans to county health metrics. So I think this is a good idea. That okay, if we have achieved certain goals, then we can consider reopening the schools. Safe in-person school based on local health data, mask requirements, physical distancing, and other applications, regular testing, and dedicated contact tracing, rigorous distance learning. I think this is the way forward for schools around the world. It's not just in California, but so safe environments if it's possible for schools to reopen. But I think it's extremely difficult because if you look at class sizes over the last number of years, class sizes have increased. So it's becoming much more difficult to even contemplate having social distancing in classrooms. Mask requirements, I agree with that. Physical distancing and other applications. So, but you're probably going to have to do a rotation. So one Monday you have one class. Maybe in the afternoon a different class, on Tuesday another class, on Wednesday a different class. Or one day on, one day off. I'm not sure how it's going to work, and a lot of governments still haven't decided how it's going to work. Sorry to ask, but what are Goya beans? I see it's a canned bean. So it's a company, as far as I know, it's a company that said that the owner of this Goya bean company went to the White House and praised Trump, and now Trump is praising and promoting this Goya bean guy. But he's, I think they're produced in Mexico or maybe in Texas, I'm not sure. But because they they praised Donald Trump is giving them free publicity. Now, you've probably heard about, unfortunately I haven't been able to make many videos recently, but you've probably heard about what's happening in Fox News in America, where a writer for Tucker Carlson, my good friend Tucker Carlson, has been in some trouble. So he was going on social media and writing comments, racist comments, on social media. And he's while being a writer for Fox News and for Tucker Carlson's show. So it says here, tensions are reportedly rising within Fox News. The network attracts more criticism for its coverage of the recent protests against racism and police brutality. Despite complaints from some of their black colleagues, Fox's on-air talent has continued to disparage the Black Lives Matter movement and warn America is under attack. Host Tucker Carlson, top writer who has recently been forced out over past racist and sexist posts online. It's why was he being racist? I don't know, because he's probably because he's not a very nice person. I'll just read what the Daily Beast has said. So, two people familiar with the situation told the Daily Beast that Fox Corporation CEO Lorach Murdoch, so our old friend Murdoch, he's the son of Rupert, personally approved that what Carlson would say in his defensive Monday remarks addressing the exit of the top writer, despite demands from Fox News executives that he pre-tape the segment and strike a conciliatory tone. Carlson barely sounded apologetic, knowing he had the full backing of the Murdoch heir. A rep from Murdoch did not respond to the request for comment, but the Daily Beast spoke. Sorry, just a moment. Tom, thank you so much for that kind donation. Whoops, let me just move something out of the way. The alert box is a little bit too big, so we'll put it over here. Apologies. Okay, let's get back to what that was, that article. So thank you so much for that kind donation, Tom. The Daily Beast spoke to more than a dozen Fox News insiders who all suggested that behind the scenes there was growing despair among employees about the network's role in demonizing and spreading fear about Black Americans in particular. One employee was especially angry, saying, "They created a cell, they created a white supremacist cell inside the top cable network in America, the one that directly influences the president. This is rank racism excused by Murdoch." I agree. It's but this is, following on. This is the same mentality surrounding Brexit. Just keep pumping out the same message, anti-immigrant, anti-European, for example, in Brexit, regarding Brexit in the US, of course. Attack anyone who, in a way, challenges the status quo. And Black Lives Matter challenges the status quo. So they're very happy to put out whatever they want. And you can see how Tucker Carlson presenting his own opinions on these things, or is Tucker Carlson just parroting a line from the executives in Fox News? Hello, Gordon. Hi, I'm from Scotland. Great to see you, Gordon. Glasgow Kiss, great to see you online. Great to see you on the stream. I hope your home your home is near, or the work you were doing at home is, or I think you were helping someone out. I hope it's all finished. You need a good break after that. I'm going to leave that till a little bit later. So it's about Trump attacking Joe Biden once again. So in maybe a positive development we see here, more than half of US states have now issued statewide mask requirements to limit the spread of coronavirus, as this NBC News graph shows. So you can see more than half of the states have issued a requirement to wear face masks because the situation is so grave. Now, it's interesting that it's a bit difficult to see, but the dark green is that face masks are mandatory, while, just a moment. BP, thank you so much for that kind donation. You're very kind. Thank you so much. We see also here that wearing masks is partly mandated, and this is in the lighter green. And then states where wearing masks is not required is in orange. And it's, for example, Florida is having a huge number of cases, and they're not mandating mask wearing. So they're just going to continue to see a rise in new cases. It's interesting that Texas instead has decided to make mask wearing mandatory. Okay, just says, who names their son Tucker? I bet he was called names at school. Yeah, I love you, Americans. Okay, you're always welcome on the channel, but my God, you guys have some weird names. Tucker, Brett, Hunter. Hunter is a strange. I've never, American only names. Cletus. Although some of those names are mainly in the south, I think. But you probably laugh at some of our names as well, like Jacob Rees-Mogg or Nigel Farage. Biden is actually hiding his VP because they have calculated that it's just best to give the rope for Trump so that he can hang himself to the COVID-19 and economy. Yeah, I think the Bubba, Kenny, yes. Max, Americans have surnames for first names. I know a bloke called Tracy. Yeah, what's his name? Tracy. No, that was was it Tracy? Or Randy. I'm a Randy. Haunted pencil. By the way, best American name ever: Gaylord Death Machine Johnson. Gaylord Fucker. Yes. Keir Starmer. Yes, no, you're right. Keir Starmer is a weird name. He's named after I think it's the first Labour MP. His name was Keir. But Keir is also a weird name. April is a weird name. Tracy Morgan. Okay, so staying on the coronavirus in the US, this is an interesting snippet. It says here, secret documents show how many states are in red zones for coronavirus. Startling news out of Washington, up to 18 states are regarded as being in a red zone. So this was something, Stormy Daniels, yes. Keir Hardy, very good. Thank you very much, Vic. Florida, Disneyland, etc. No masks in the park because this would kill it. Unless you're Welsh. Karen. Yeah, Karen is not a very popular name in the US at the moment. But for example, here in Italy, we had a number of red zones. I'm living in one of the ex-red zones where we had severe restrictions. We weren't allowed to move on foot 200 meters from our homes, and if we needed to travel around from one town to the next, we needed documentation. We needed to print out a document, say, and explain our reason for traveling. And if we didn't, we could be fined or put in prison. And being put in prison during COVID is not a good idea. I would much prefer to pay the fine. I think the fine at the time, this was back in April, was about, I think, 2,000 euros. Which is interesting because Boris Johnson has said that there'll be fines for people who don't wear masks in UK shops will be £100. Not exactly a huge disincentive. So it says here, 18 states will be in the red zone by federal health experts based on their coronavirus cases, and much of the reopening that has happened in the US, that's happening in the US, is probably going too far and doesn't include enough measures to stop the spread of COVID-19, such as mask wearing, social distancing, and limiting crowds, especially indoors. Because there's this idea, unfortunately, comrades, great to see you. Unfortunately, there is this idea in the US, especially on the right, that masks are infringing on people's liberties. You know, in the same way as seatbelts or, as James O'Brien said, wearing underwear. You know, if you'd frame this as you have to wear a mask in the same way you have to walk around wearing underwear or trousers or something, you know, below your waist. You need to clothe the part of your body below your waist out of common decency, out of respect for others. I know Florida, probably, if you look at videos or images online about, you know, Walmart in Florida, people don't follow that rule. But just the idea, we need to reinforce at least mask wearing. And it's extremely difficult in many states in the US because you have this libertarian, which I think is fake libertarian, but right-wing leaning ideology in many states that convinces people, you know, wearing a mask is against my freedom. A document prepared for the White House coronavirus task force, but not publicized, suggests more than a dozen states should revert to more stringent protective measures, limiting social gatherings to 10 people or fewer, closing bars and gyms, and asking residents to wear masks at all times. This is a question I just have for you guys. I don't know if gyms have opened where you are. Has anyone been to a gym? And what are the sort of protections you have in gyms? Because, if you go into a shop or a bar even, or a restaurant, the contact you have with people is limited. And also the contact you have with objects within the restaurant or bar or shop or whatever is limited also. But imagine gyms are closed. Okay, that's good. A gym, like you mean ever? I hope gyms are closed. I think some places gyms are not until February. Okay, that's a good idea. I feel sorry for people who, are obsessed with gyms. These people who take like 25 selfies in an hour in front of the mirrors in the gym. What's a gym? But it's I'm glad that they're not opening for a while. Hi Max, gym I go to has announced it's opening on the 25th. Andrew Farrell, where are you? Are you in Ireland or in the UK? Gym's open in August. I think it's plenty of gyms in Scotland, no gyms though. Exactly. Gyms are full of people who sweat, not my taste. But also this idea that, you touch a barbell, and then how many other people touch that same barbell during the space of 12 hours? Or whatever amount of time the gym is open. Come on, Max, you're only saying that because you can't take selfies in your bikini yet. Gyms are open in Northern Ireland. Oh my God. I go to park, walk around rivers, yes. It's better to walk around out in the open than going to a gym. I think a gym is just asking for trouble. Unless you wear gloves in the gym, but I still think you're going to be sweating on things and still moving, spreading the virus around if you have it. You have to sanitize everything you touch. But I imagine you could wear gloves, but if the weather is very hot, it's going to be extremely difficult to wear gloves. Have a friend is so desperate for the gyms, he started deadlifting his cats. Jean Rene, great to see you. Hope you're well. Highland Games are full of tossers. Gyms are for sadomasochists. Gyms are open in the Netherlands, but have very strict rules. So far, no problems. Never got to the point of running on the spot, especially in Scotland. Get out in the open. Gloves and a mask, standard issue. Gym wear. I cycle. Wouldn't ever have been in a gym. The old school boxing gym. Yes. Maxie needs his exercise to make him look buff. He looks at his equipment and says, "I've had enough." Max, don't go that far. If you're filling your vehicle up, are you wearing gloves? If not, it's worse than a gym. No, I always wear gloves when I'm putting petrol or diesel in the car. I have a diesel car, so I always wear gloves. They always have them. But I've always really worn gloves because they say it's not good to get diesel on your hands. It's not good for your hands. Not good for your skin. Not for aesthetic reasons. It's not a good thing to. It's corrosive as far as I know. Shouldn't wash your hands. Basically, don't wash your hands with diesel. Okay. Anyway, it goes on to say. The centre obtained the information. The Centre for Public Integrity has revealed 18 states are in the red zone for COVID-19, meaning that they had more than 100 new cases per 100,000 population last week. 11 states are in the red zone for test positivity, meaning more than 10% of diagnostic test results came back positive. It includes county level data and reflects the insistence of the Trump administration that states and counties should take the lead in responding to the coronavirus. Once again, this idea of outsourcing responsibility to counties or to states. You know, where is the federal government? Where is Boris Johnson's administration? Once again, get the counties to take to do the heavy lifting. Now, sometimes it can be a good idea to have the local ones because they are sorbing. I just saw appear on the screen sorbing. I think sometimes it can be a good idea to have the local, but they must have the local authorities doing most of the work, but it's important that they are controlled or monitored or instructed from central government to do so. If it's done right, of course. Isha Juba, director of the Harvard Global Health Institute, said he thought the information and recommendations were mostly good. The fact that it's not public makes no sense to me. Why are we hiding this information from the American people? This should be published and updated every day. But it's this idea of, well, we don't want to tell the public too much because some of them who vote for our party, the Republican Party, don't believe that the coronavirus actually exists. So how do we convince them to act safely, but at the same time don't disturb their ignorance? The 18 states that are included in the red zone for cases in the document are Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, California, Florida, Georgia, Ohio, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Carolina, Nevada, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah. 11 states that are in the red zone for, okay, so it goes on to say the other states. In May, the World Health Organization recommended that governments make sure that test rates were at 5% or lower for 14 days before reopening. But in many states, they're not. And unfortunately, the US has broken a new record. So the US again broke its record for the number of new coronavirus cases reported in one day. The country reported more than 77,000 new cases yesterday. Donald Trump says this is good because we have the most cases because we test the most. So we need to test less, so we'll have fewer cases. That's his thinking. And a poll suggested this morning indicates Donald Trump is losing support because of the alarming trend. A Washington Post ABC News poll found that 38% of Americans approve of Trump's handling of the pandemic, down from 46% in May and 51% in March. So I just have a question about this. Who the hell in March believed Donald Trump was handling this correctly? Who the hell in May thought Donald Trump was handling this correctly? And who the hell today thinks Donald Trump is handling this correctly? 38% of Americans. I think that number should be less than 10%. But 38% still believe Donald Trump is handling it correctly. I understand there are people who are on his side. If he ate a live baby on TV, they would still support him. Now, if he got a woman to have an abortion, he took out the abortion, the fetus, and ate it live, ate it on live TV, they would still support him. Those people would. He can do nothing that will turn them off. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has been receiving treatment for a reoccurrence of cancer. The 87-year-old justice said she is encouraged by the success of my current installment in treatment and intends to return to remain on the court. This idea, like an 87-year-old justice, this idea, you need to have shorter term limits for justices. They need to be more, I think, rotated more often. This idea that you have a president chooses a justice and they stay there for life. I don't think this is a good way to approach the Supreme Court. And finally, just this is not really related, of course, to COVID. It just says Defense Secretary Mark Esper effectively banned the display of the Confederate flag at military bases. Esper issued a memo on the display of flags at military bases, which included a lot of acceptable flags to display. The Confederate flag is notably omitted from the list. This is unusual. Why would Trump allow the banning of the Confederate flag at this stage? It's basically banned. It's not just excluded. Why? Is it because Trump realizes, look, I can't win on this issue, so if we take the issue away, then it's not hurting me anymore? This would be my only way of thinking, my only way to think about this. It's not that the Big Magnet, thank you so much for that kind donation. Thank you so much. So this idea, there's not enough support in the community, in the country, to override the loss Trump would suffer by trying to support the Confederate flag. So if they take it away, in a way, they take away the issue. Does the list include the rainbow flag for Pride Month? I don't know, actually. I doubt it. It includes his military base, so I don't know if they would include the Pride flag. Is Dukes of Hazzard now banned because the name and the flag of their car? I don't know. I don't think the show is banned, and I don't think the car is banned. I'm not a huge fan of banning things. I'm a bit of a free speech absolutist here. I think things need to be put in their context. We need to look at things in a context. I'm not a big fan of banning things. Even Daisy Duke. My God. David Duke is a completely different person. Daisy Duke, yes. David Duke, no. But I'm not a big fan of banning things. How was the Confederate flag in the U.S. Army? Still a thing. So I wanted to get to this. The Confederacy rebelled against the Union, against the United States. They committed treason against the United States. They rebelled against the United States. And don't confuse Daisy with David, no. They rebelled against and some states continued to use the flag. It'd be like, why is the Japanese flag not flying in some U.S. military bases? I know it's not exactly a perfect analogy, but they rebelled against the U.S. They were defeated by the U.S., by the Union, the United States Army. I really don't understand how it's still considered a patriotic thing to carry around and wave the flag of the enemies of the United States. They can keep their flag at home, not public space, unless it's all flags, IRA, etc. Oh no, pineapple pizza. A lot of US bases are named after Confederate generals. David Duke would look good in them shorts. Pineapple pizza. Okay, no more pineapple pizza, guys. Enough with the pineapple pizza. Although I saw the worst thing ever was somebody made a meme of Kiwi on a pizza. That was quite terrible. Foot brag. Military bases are still our state-run institutions. This has nothing to do with freedom of expression. No, I'll leave that till later. Okay, so let's jump across the pond back into Borisville. no, the United Kingdom. And we have this... No, not that. Just a moment. Damn you hamsters. Stop messing me about. We'll put that on mute for a moment. Okay. So this is... Borisville is Psychoville, yes. Brussels sprouts pizza is the worst. Probably, yes. Kiwis put beetroot on burgers. Beetroot on burgers? That's actually quite interesting. It's the one in vinegar, I assume. The pickled beetroot, not the raw beetroot. Borisville, not area. Winter is coming, Max. Another pandemic is on the way. So I want to... This is Boris Johnson's press conference today. So we'll just skip ahead a little bit. Where is Bojo? Here we go. So I'm not going to show all of it. But there are two parts. I just want to show the beginning of it, and then I'm going to jump to about 35 minutes where he talks about Scotland. He responds to a question about Scotland, and I want to give a bit of commentary about that. Come on, Bojo, you're late. Nah, I'll skip ahead a little bit more. Okay, here we go.
Good morning. In the 2 weeks since I last addressed you from this podium, I'm pleased to report that we've continued to make
Is Boris still suffering from COVID? He's out of breath, or was he just running up the stairs, or was he preparing another baby? I'm not sure. What was he up to?
Any progress in our collective effort to beat the coronavirus.
Is this live? No, this was from this morning.
For 3 weeks now, the number of new cases identified through testing each day has been below 1,000. The latest SAGE advice is that across the UK, the R rate remains between 0.7 and 0.9. SAGE also assess that the number of infections is shrinking by between 5 and 1% every day. The latest ONS data shows prevalence and new infections to be stable and low. The number of patients newly admitted to hospital with coronavirus each day and the number of coronavirus patients in mechanical ventilation beds have both fallen by more than 90% from their peak in early April. And while we mourn every death, the average daily death rate continues steadily to fall. This progress is testament to the phenomenal efforts of our NHS and social care staff working tirelessly on the front line. And it has only been possible thanks to the character and fortitude with which you, the British people, have made fundamental changes to the way you all live and work. When we set out our plan to rebuild on the 11th of May, we said that our goal was to return to life as close to normal as possible for as many people as possible, as fast and as fairly as possible, in a way that is safe and that continues to protect our NHS. That goal remains the same, but the tools we use to achieve it are changing. At the start of the pandemic, we knew far less about the nature and the spread of the virus, and we had to take blanket national measures. National lockdown was undoubtedly...
At the very beginning, like you going and meeting people in hospital and shaking hands with them?
The right thing to do and has saved many thousands of lives. Now, however, we know more about the virus, we understand the epidemiology better, and our intelligence on where it is spreading is vastly improved. That means we can control it through targeted local action instead. In England, this work is led by NHS Test and Trace, and within it, the Joint Biosecurity Centre. My deep thanks go to Dido Harding, who oversees this work and who joins me today. This approach is already working. In Weston-super-Mare and Kirklees, we took swift and successful action to contain outbreaks at specific premises. In Bradford and Blackburn with Darwin, we identified troubling trends in the data and worked closely with respective local authorities to increase testing and take targeted action.
So I just want to comment, QA Library says, if you do not know, the UK only once or twice published its recovered statistic. Yeah, so I remember looking at some of the data that was being published on websites that collected data from around the world. And the UK continually had nothing available for people who had recovered. And I thought maybe it was just the website had a problem or something like that. But I saw it on numerous websites, and I couldn't understand why the data wasn't being published every day for the number of people who have recovered.
That work continues. And in Leicester, we instituted a local lockdown in order to bear down on stubborn rates of infection. As the Health Secretary announced last night, we will begin to relax the restrictions there next week. We can do so because the data is improving, with the percentage of people testing positive falling from a weekly rate of 12.2% on the 29th of June to 4.8% yesterday. The approach varies in different parts of the UK, but all parts of the UK benefit from the support of our armed forces, additional testing facilities, and billions of pounds of support provided by this government. Today, we are publishing our framework for containing and controlling future outbreaks in England, which will enable national and local government to work closely together. From tomorrow, local authorities will have new powers in their areas. They will be able to close specific premises, shut public outdoor spaces, and cancel events. These powers will enable local authorities to act more quickly in response to outbreaks where speed is paramount.
Will this include London? Will you give the Mayor of London the power to do these things? Because you had been asking him to do these things before, and he wasn't doing it. Now, was it because he didn't have the power, or he decided not to do it? You were saying before that he needed to get a grip. Obviously, he didn't have the power to do it.
Action by local councils will not always be sufficient, so next week we will publish draft regulations which clearly set out how central government can intervene more effectively at a local level. Where justified by the evidence, ministers will be able to close whole sectors or types of premises in an area, introduce local stay-at-home orders, prevent people entering or leaving defined areas, reduce the maximum size of gatherings beyond national rules, or restrict transport systems serving local areas. I know it will be hard going for people affected by these local measures. It isn't easy, and for some it may seem unjust that people...
And Pete is making a very valid point. Second wave, then blame the local authorities. Johnson will not be to blame. It has always been the case, moving responsibility to someone else. If something goes wrong, well, you know, it's Leicester's fault, it's not our fault. Leicester needs to get a grip on it. We've given them the powers. Now they have to deal with it. But a local council doesn't have the resources available. It's okay giving them powers, but do they have the resources to deal with this? What about the money? What about the staff? You need to have not just powers, but you need to have the resources.
People just a short distance away can live their lives closer to normal. But it has to be right that we take local action in response to local outbreaks. There is no point in shutting down a city in one part of the country to contain an outbreak in another part of the country. Now, of course, this local approach relies on having an effective testing regime in place. And here we have made substantial progress. Antigen test capacity, that's the test which tells you if you currently have the virus, has increased 100-fold since the start of March, from fewer than 2,000 tests a day to more than 200,000 tests a day now. Publicly available data suggests we are now carrying out our tests more than anywhere else in Europe in total, and more tests than Germany, France, Italy, and Spain per capita.
Why? Why do you have more tests being carried out than these other countries? Because their number of cases have declined. The number of cases are way down in other countries, while in the UK it's still high. That's why you're still testing so many people. Igor, great to see you.
We've set up testing sites around the UK and now have 200 mobile units which can be rapidly deployed wherever they're needed.
This is all good news, but this should have been done months ago. Why are you doing it now? Why is Boris Johnson doing all of these things now? We have these rapid units that can travel around the country to find cases, test people immediately. Okay, that's great, but why is it happening only now?
It's now the case, and has been for some time, that anyone, anywhere in the UK with symptoms can get a test without delay. We're also testing increasing numbers of people who don't have symptoms but who are at higher risk. As we approach winter, we will need to go further, not least as many more people will show COVID-like symptoms as a result of seasonal illnesses and therefore require a test. So we will further increase testing capacity to at least 500,000 antigen tests a day, that's 3.5 million antigen tests a week, by the end of October. Demand for testing is not the only challenge that winter will bring. It's possible that the virus will be more virulent in the winter months, and it's certain that the NHS will face the usual annual winter pressures. We've taken a number of steps, therefore, to get the NHS ready for winter. We have massively...
Now we have the new slogan, ready for winter. Winter is coming, not ready for winter. This is the new slogan. Are you ready for winter? You know, stay alert, get ready for winter.
Increase the number of ventilators available to patients across the UK, up from 9,000 before the pandemic to nearly 30,000 now. We've substantially increased the pipeline of personal protective equipment for the NHS and social care, constituting over 30 billion items of PPE over the course of the pandemic. We will be rolling out the biggest ever flu vaccination programme in the history of the UK. We will also, of course, give the NHS the resources it needs. And today I can confirm that we're providing an additional £3 billion of funding to the NHS in England to get ready for winter. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland will also receive additional funds. This will allow the NHS to continue to use the extra hospital capacity acquired from the independent sector and also to maintain the Nightingale hospitals until the end of March. This new funding comes on top of the additional £30 billion of funding for health and social care that we've already announced this year. So, we're making sure we're ready for winter and planning for the worst. But even
instead of what happened at the beginning was not planning for anything and hoping for the best.
As we plan for the worst, I strongly believe we should also hope for the best. That means looking ahead with optimism, now extending our plan to lift the remaining national measures which have restricted our lives since March, so we can get back to something.
Peter Robbins says, who's paying for all of this? It will be tax rises probably in the new year. Money has been, a huge amount of money has been transferred to Tory donors. The furlough scheme was a good idea, but I still am adamant about the need for a universal basic income. We need to and I'm not just focusing on the UK here. Every country needs to be going in that direction. We need to have a UBI to deal with pandemics like this. The idea that we can say, everyone stay the F at home. Don't go to work. Work from home if necessary. But for some people who are furloughed, they must stay in their homes. Give them £1,000, €1,000 per month, and they stay in their homes. They can order from Amazon or whatever. That needs to be the way going forward. As soon as there's a problem, we tell those people to stay in your home until the pandemic has been dealt with. And we're going to see in the future more pandemics like this. Climate change is going to create a lot of these pandemics as well. There are many models talking about how because of rising temperatures, we're going to start to see other types of problems, other types of pandemics.
Think closer to normal life. Now, I must stress the timetable I am about to set out is conditional. It is contingent on every one of us staying alert and acting responsibly. It relies on our continued success in controlling the virus.
See, it's your responsibility on all of us. But he's not saying, he never mentions the government. The government must do the right thing. No, it's not the government that must. He never mentions the government has to do something. It's always you have to do it. We. When he says we, he means you. He doesn't include the government in this.
And we will not proceed if doing so risks a second peak that would overwhelm the NHS.
But you've been talking about how, well, if we see new cases appearing, we'll just focus on local outbreaks. The idea has never been, I don't see him closing down the entire country again, because it would be extremely damaging to the economy. And the Tories are more interested in protecting the economy than protecting the public. The furlough scheme, in a sense, was not about protecting people. It was about protecting workers. If they cared about people, they would have had a proper universal credit system that would have actually paid people. People wouldn't have to wait friggin' 5 weeks to get universal credit payments. So it's not about caring about people, it's about caring about workers. And why do they care about workers? Because workers are useful. They serve a purpose. They oil the machine of the economy. People, you need to wake up and realize that the government don't care about you as an individual. They never have, they never will. They care about what you can produce. You as a worker. You as a tool in the machine.
Nonetheless, it is important to give people hope and to give business confidence. So, in England, from today, we are making clear that anybody may use public transport, while of course encouraging people to consider alternative means of transport where they are available. From the 25th of this month, July, we've already committed to reopening indoor gyms, pools and other sports facilities.
Sorry, when? Let me just go back.
The NHS. Nonetheless, it is important to give people hope and to give business confidence. So, in England, from today, we are making clear that anybody may use public transport, while of course encouraging people to consider alternative means of transport where they are available. From the 25th of this month, July, we've already committed to reopening indoor gyms, pools.
Why are you reopening gyms? I'm not a tool, Max. That's a little personal. Artemis, great to see you. Welcome to the stream. Why are you reopening gyms? we've just talked about how the problems related to gyms, and I don't know if gyms are able to maintain control over the spread. Take the bus, don't take the bus, make your mind up. Opening gyms and swimming pools, what exactly?
And other sports facilities. From the 1st of August, we will update our advice on going to work. Instead of government telling people to work from home, we're going to give employers more discretion and ask them to make decisions about how their staff can work safely.
What the F? Really? You're going to ask employers to decide whether their place is safe or not, or whether it's okay for their staff to come to work? Jesus. Now, this is unbelievable. The government, Boris Johnson, is telling people, well, we can't be bothered to actually give guidance, to give rules. We're going to allow your boss to decide. Your boss is going to decide whether you can come to work or not. Your boss will decide if his or her workplace is COVID safe. Legal liability on employers. But also I think some employers, I agree with that, illegal liability. So it's the employers will have to... Let me give you an example of something that happened here in Italy, or not happened, but somebody... So I had to go into a business, and the business said to me, no, you cannot come here because there's a huge risk that if you come into our business to do a course and you bring the virus in with you, we have to close down our business for 6 months or a month or whenever it's deemed safe again. So we don't want people who are not employees coming into our business. And we also don't want you to come in, get infected by someone in the company, and you to transfer it to other people outside. Because we would be liable in that situation. So this idea that you're going to allow, but just from another point of view, the idea that you're going to allow employers to decide. Well, what about corrupt slave driving employers who don't consider, what about employers who don't consider the pandemic as something serious whatsoever? People who don't bother wearing masks at work. If your boss is some sort of 5G conspiracy theorist guy who says no, masks are a way to be controlled by the government or something, and he says no masks allowed in my business, what the hell can you do about that? If your employer decides whether his place is safe or not. This is just opening the door for abuse, and it's opening the door for reasonable employers getting blamed for actions that the government don't want to take themselves.
That could mean, of course, continuing to work from home, which is one way of working safely, and which has worked for many employers and employees. Or it could mean making workplaces safe by following COVID-secure guidelines. Whatever employer...
Who's going to enforce these guidelines, Boris? Who's going to go into the business and say, the guidelines here have been followed, or they haven't been followed? And then what happens? If they haven't been followed, what happens to that business? Is it closed down? Is it restricted? What happens to the staff who were working there in a place that was not COVID secure? Is there a certification for COVID secure? Is there a punishment for companies that don't follow the rules? What you're doing is you're offloading, once again, I've talked about this before, it's about offloading responsibility to the public, offloading responsibility to councils, offloading responsibility to employers.
Employers decide they should consult closely with their employees and only
Yeah, consult closely with your employees. So your boss says you have to go to work, and you say, yeah, but I don't feel safe going into work. And your boss says, do you want a job? And you say, maybe if I go into work, I could get infected. But if I don't go into work, I lose my job. And at the moment, it's a bit difficult to get a job because there is also an economic crisis at the moment. Like the owners of the garment factories in Leicester, perfect zero trooper. Can you imagine the employer of the garment factories? Were they considering, well, maybe we should consider the welfare of our employees? It hits the low income hard. Yes, because, and this was a point that was raised. I don't remember exactly who raised it. It was in one of the videos I'd seen. I think, no, it was maybe it was in Novara Media. They were saying how, if you're middle class, if you're a manager, if you're even a supervisor in a company, it's much easier for you to work from home. You're a manager, you don't have to be in the office. They give you a computer or whatever, and you can work from home. For many people who are working class, they don't have the possibility to work from home. They have to go into the office. They have to go into the building site, or they have to go to the place of work. They don't have a choice. And once again, if the boss says you have to go to work, what alternative do you have? Bus driver, for example, perfect example. Bus driver can't say, well, I work from home. We haven't got robotic buses yet. Maybe we need to get on to Tesla about that.
We ask people to return to their place of work if it is safe. As we reopen our society and economy.
So you should work from home if your boss allows you. But if your boss doesn't allow you to work from home, you should come to work. But you should avoid public transport if you can. So you should drive to work if you have to go to work.
Economy. It's right that we give employers more discretion while continue to ensure that employees are kept safe.
But this is open to abuse. Everyone knows this is open to abuse. It's because you don't care. We need to get the economy moving again. Certain companies want to get their employees back in to make some cash before the second wave. This is about protecting businesses. This is not about protecting the public. It's not about protecting individuals. It's about protecting businesses, and many of these businesses are Tory supporters. And if they go into liquidation, they're not going to be too happy with the Conservative Party.
Also, from the 1st of August, we will reopen most remaining leisure settings, namely bowling, skating rinks, casinos, and we will enable close contact services, beauticians to resume.
Bowling and casinos. Really, is it necessary to have bowling and bowling? You could sort of make some arguments for, but casinos, is it really necessary to have casinos, considering the amount of problems? I think a huge number of people who are addicted to gambling are probably doing quite well at the moment. They've maybe some of them have turned their lives around, and now you're going to reopen casinos again. It's like, you've managed to last a number of months avoiding buying lottery tickets and sticking all of your salary into a damn slot machine, and now as you've turned the corner, we're going to reopen them again. But also the idea that people touching machines, are they going to be sanitized after every use? No, they're not. Bowling, handling all those balls. No, he's talking about bowling alleys, not brothels. Although maybe brothels are also open. Are brothels legal in the UK? Asking for a friend, of course. Money laundering must go on. Exactly, the big magnet. I agree. Never heard of online gambling. But online gambling wouldn't be under lockdown. The problem is it's the offline gambling that's been reopened.
Nightclubs, soft play areas sadly need to remain closed for now, though this will be kept under review. We will restart indoor performances to a live audience, subject to the success of pilots, and we will also pilot larger gatherings in venues like sports stadia with a view to a wider reopening in the autumn.
But I think this should be dependent upon the numbers. But this should be dependent on the numbers. If the numbers are not have not declined enough, then they should remain closed. Say, okay, we have had 6 days or 10 days or 20 days of 0 new deaths or 0 cases even. Then we can say, okay, now let's reopen. But this is just looking for trouble.
We will also allow wedding receptions for up to 30 people. All of these measures for the 1st of August should be done in a COVID-secure way. In September...
This whole COVID-secure way is just a pile of crap, because if the employer decides, well, my area is COVID-secure, who's going to check if it's COVID-secure? What are the guidelines for COVID-secure? Is there going to be somebody from the NHS coming in? Tom, thank you so much for that kind donation. Thank you so much. Tom Nelson. Is someone from the government going to come in from the health and safety, or I don't remember the name in the UK for, if you run a greasy spoon and they come in and close you down. COVID here doesn't exist. I agree. Now, guys, this is a family show, okay? So keep it keep it clean. Send in the COVID police. I live in Amsterdam and still work there. From time to time, I love the red light district. When you go bowling, who will check to see if your balls are COVID secure? Well, technically, they could have gloves. People must wear gloves when doing bowling. Almost finished on this section, and then I want to get to the next part of Bojo's response.
Schools, nurseries and colleges will be open for all children and young people on a full-time basis as planned. And universities are also working to reopen as fully as possible. From October, we intend to bring back audiences in stadia and to allow conferences and other business events to recommence. Again, these changes must be done in a COVID-secure way, subject to the successful outcome of pilots.
So you're going to have these pilot programs, and then... So what is a pilot project for a music concert? And how do you assess whether it was a success or not? So you'll have a mini concert. I don't know, does Tom Jones still sing? So you get Tom Jones to do a small concert, and then you have how many people at it? 50 people, 100 people, and then you test how many of those people got sick, got infected, and then you decide based on that if you allow 10,000 people in. This doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm not an expert on this, but maybe I'm missing something.
Throughout this period, we will look to allow more close contact between friends and family where we can. It is my strong and sincere hope that we will be able to review the outstanding restrictions and allow a more significant return to normality from November at the earliest, possibly in time for Christmas. At all times, we will continue to work with the devolved administrations in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland to support and care for those at risk wherever they live in the UK. We've said that the shielding programme for those most...
Okay, so I just want to move on to, I think it's around here, where Boris Johnson responds to a question about Scotland.
What we think they should be doing, but it's for them and their employees to decide. On the statistics, that I think Matt Hancock is going to be doing a review of those statistics.
Maybe I missed it. Hold on.
Minister are the biggest threat to the union.
Okay, here we are.
Panoply of tools that will enable.
So Boris Johnson was asked a question by Scottish journalists from this. Let's see what he had to say.
Us to fight it, the local lockdowns, the measures we're bringing in, the contain framework, test and trace, new drugs, new therapies. But in the end, the real secret is in the common sense and the collective action of the British people.
The common sense and the collective action. So common sense is the way to deal with this pandemic. Not rules, not fines, not clear instructions, not the encouraging of wearing masks or sanitizing hands or the reinforcement of that. This confusion about, yes, you must wear a mask when you're in a shop, but you don't have to wear a mask when you're in a restaurant. But because certain places that serve food as a takeaway, for example, Pret-a-Manger, is it a shop or is it a restaurant? So some people will say, well, it's a restaurant, so I don't have to wear a mask. And some people will say, well, it's a shop, so I do have to wear a mask. I've said this before. It must be wearing a mask inside should be the rule. The exception should be being allowed to take it off. Not, well, there's a rule for taking it off, there's a rule for wearing it, not wearing it, whatever.
Thanks, Jane. Let's go to Paris Goutsianis of the Scotsman.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Nicola Sturgeon's net approval rating on coronavirus is 99% higher than yours.
It would have been nice to know what was going through Boris's head. So Nicola Sturgeon's approval rating on dealing with the coronavirus is 99% higher than yours. You know, even if hers was 1, yours would be... I'm not going to do the maths.
The SNP is on course to win an unprecedented majority in Scottish Parliament elections next year.
So the SNP are on course to win a majority. Now, I think this is speculation, and it's probably true, but I don't think it helps to speculate. I don't think this is a good thing to say. But anyway, sorry, I'm nitpicking here.
And independence, support for independence has never been higher. Do you accept that you, Prime Minister, are the biggest threat to the Union? And if not, why do you think so many Scots want to leave the UK?
Well,
Of course, he's not going to answer this question. I can try to answer it, and then I'll allow Boris to answer it. So why is Boris Johnson the greatest threat to the Union? He's the greatest threat to the Union because he has no... Zenerman, thank you so much for that kind... Wow, thank you so much for that very generous donation. Thank you so much, Zenerman. I hope you're well. I haven't seen you on the stream, but I thank you so much. Apologies if I didn't say hello before. Why is Boris Johnson a threat to the Union? Well, Boris Johnson is not interested in winning over the support of the Scottish people. He understands that the Tories have attempted to throw the Scottish people under a bus with Brexit. The Tories in general have no love for the people of Scotland. So it's very difficult for him to win back their support. He put a border down the Irish Sea. He's the more he speaks, the less the Scottish people trust him. Also, the people of England are deeply distrustful of Boris Johnson. But the further north you go, the less the people trust Boris Johnson. So why would they trust someone who convinced them before Brexit, you need to be part of the European Union? Boris Johnson was part of this as well, but the Tory party in particular, and the Labour Party has a part to play here. But they convinced the Scottish people, you need to be part of the Union, because we want to be part of Europe. In order to stay part of Europe, you need to be part of the Union. And then 2 years later, or the following, a number of months later, it was, okay, now we want to go in a different direction. We want to convince everyone that we need to leave the European Union. So the Scottish people didn't really have a choice in that. They were tricked into voting to stay in the Union, the United Kingdom Union, based on the idea that it was necessary to remain part of the European Union.
Thanks very much, Paris. I think, actually, when you look at what's happened under this, during this crisis, there has been very good and very close collaboration between, despite the surface differences and the polemics that you refer to.
The surface difference? The surface difference? Really?
There have been very good discussions across the UK between public health authorities, between the scientific and medical officers, and actually the agenda that is being pursued by all the parts of the UK beneath the surface has been very, very similar. And it's thanks to the strength of the Union, I would say, that actually there is we've had the response.
But if it's the strength of the Union, then why are the approaches different? If the Union was strong, wouldn't it be you deciding and them following, and them perhaps the further you get from the centre of the Union, the less, how can I say, proactive they would be. But it's the opposite. They're doing a better job than you are. You can see it. The data shows that Scotland and Wales are doing a better job. Northern Ireland is a particular case because Northern Ireland is across the sea. So I don't think it's a good example to use. But the idea that because the Union is strong, that's the reason why you're doing so well. But the other countries, Scotland and Wales, are doing better than England. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Where the government, where the centre of government is, they should be doing the best, and the peripherals, no offence, are doing worse. But it's the opposite, once again. It's because they understand what the real problem is, and you have been trying to avoid the problem since the beginning. But this has been the Tory policy over the last number of years. Defund the NHS, don't provide what's necessary, work continually towards a privatization of the NHS. And now we've realized, look, this is what happens when you privatize the NHS. This is what happens when you defund the NHS. You end up with 45,000 dead people.
Response that we've been able to muster as a one whole United Kingdom, whether that's our
really politically, why do you care about Scotland? You don't have any MPs there, or almost. I'm not going to say any. You have very few MPs in Scotland. You have very few members of the Scottish Parliament, Tories. The amount of support you have politically in Scotland is very little. So from a political point of view, I've always asked the question, why do you care so much about Scotland? Wouldn't it make more sense for you to just let Scotland go and then concentrate your power within England? You could rule probably forever using a first-past-the-post system. The Tories would be guaranteed almost a majority forever in England. I know that's extremely frightening for many people in England, and I fully understand that. And you can understand why many people on the left don't want Scotland to become independent, because in a way it dampens down the Tories' power in the UK, not in England, of course. So in a way, you need, the left need the SNP, they need Scotland there, because it waters down, it dilutes some of the Tory power. Not a great amount. We've seen Boris Johnson has a 80-seat majority. 11 or 12 MPs, thanks for that, Glasgow Kiss. So what is the real reason? I've alluded to this before. It's because Scotland provide cash, resources to the UK. If Scotland goes, it's a huge dent. The rest of the UK would have to pick up the pieces. And how would that play out politically? It'd be extremely damaging for whatever party's in power. I think there's also the prestige aspect of it, that you would be the Prime Minister who destroyed the Union. Now, in Northern Ireland, the situation is a bit different, because Northern Ireland doesn't benefit. No offence to people in Northern Ireland, but you probably know this. The Northern Ireland doesn't benefit the UK. It's a cost. They see it as a cost. The Tories have never cared about Northern Ireland. Labour, a little bit more, but zero and a little bit, anything above zero is more than zero. But economically, politically, Northern Ireland means nothing to the British government. So that's why Boris Johnson was so happy to throw the DUP under a bus. That was why he was willing to allow the border down the Irish Sea. He'd actually be quite happy just to let it go. It's damaging for the Union, but Brexiteers had made a decision: Northern Ireland or Brexit. Brexit won every time. Of course, they went and patted the DUP on the back and said, "Don't worry, we'll stand by you. We'll stand by your side." But when push came to shove, they signed on to the Brexit train, to the Brexit memorandum, the Brexit contract, whatever you want to say. But Brexit won out. We in Northern Ireland know that, Max, Una. I mean no offence when I say that. It's the Tories just never gave a crap about Northern Ireland. And it's somewhat sad, because I see, on the other hand, the Orange men, the Unionists in Northern Ireland have this almost, I hate to use this expression, but almost like a beaten wife approach to London. The one, when you're walking down the street, I hate to use these analogies, and I mean no offense by them, but you're walking down the street and you see a guy beating his girlfriend or beating his wife, and you step in and she says, "No, leave him alone. He loves me, really." This is the type of approach I see between Unionists and London. We don't really care about you, but we want you to believe that we do. And you still care about us. But it doesn't it doesn't work that way in Scotland. Scotland has started, I think, the wheels towards independence. And there will be independence. It's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's a when.
Our armed services bringing testing kits across the whole of the country, taking people in remote parts of Scotland to the testing centres where they needed to go to, or the might of the UK Treasury and HMRC getting the furlough scheme up and running across the whole of the UK in a way that I thought was incredibly impressive.
But that's your job. It's like, yeah, we did things for Scotland. Yay! Yes, because Scotland is part of the UK, you have a responsibility. You can't just say we did. Look at what we've done for Scotland. Yes, but that's your job. It's like if here in Italy, if I said, look at what Rome has done for. What have the Romans ever done for us? I didn't actually mean to go in that direction. But what has Rome done for the people here in Veneto, near Venice? Yes, but that's their job to do things. Oh, we Scott's Dog, thank you so much for that kind donation. Actually, I should open the comments section for those. But once again, you know, you have a responsibility. You can't say, look, I've fulfilled my responsibility, now give me a pat on the back. That's not how it works. Max, he loved perfection, and he has built quite at ease being with flowers, a naturist, but not a fleur de lis. So wish our mainstream media was as critically thinking as you. Thank you so much, Zenerman, for that kind comment. On your bike, Boris, or on your bus. But we've gotten this has gotten quite heated, so I just want to take it down a notch here, and let's just do something a little bit lighter. So my good friend Nigel Farage, as you all know, Nigel is a huge fan of mine, and I am a huge fan of his. No, Nigel doesn't even know I exist, not yet. But this is a fantastic video. It's extremely funny. So
Yes, selector, the England cricket selector of the ECB and the MCC and the real MC of the LBC. That's me. Enter the F. Nigel Farage, National Front, neo-fascism, Farage Garage. So we're doing it. Genuinely corrupt FM. Breaking point. Bring a breaking point. With a Brexit, let's go. Bigger the bigotry, breaking the point. No integration, immigrating the point. I see them baking a joint. You wouldn't live with a Romanian boy. I see these vans everywhere like a rich guy coming over here in the air, and I pay my bus fare, all I hear is Bulgarian. I mean, these mans are Aryan, but they don't belong here, drinking all the wrong beer. What the fuck is a Tisky man twaddle? You'll see me swinging the whiskey from the bottle. You'll see me getting a frisky with a bottle, and rolling a 50 with the Donald. Yes, Trump, hold tight. Shall I admit the truth? They tell me it's wrong, but I sing all the songs of the Hitler Youth. And I siggy sig hole when I spit in the booth. Head banging on the mic, so I chip my tooth. Rewind, back to the 40s. Sun never sets on the British Empire. Sun never sets on my lyrics entire. Sun never sets because my lyrics are fire. Hold tight in the Shires.
fantastic. A lot of dog whistles there, not even dog whistles about Nigel. Okay, so let's move on to something quite nice, a little nice story here. I'll just upload the video here so we see it. So arise, Sir Tom. So this is very sweet, and of course, you know, I'm not a monarchist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do, Major Tom. I do love. I'm not going to be cynical for a moment. I think we have to. There is a time for cynicism, and you know, we can be extremely cynical about what's, you know, the way he's been treated and the way he's been used. But I'm not going to go into that. I think this is a sweet moment for this man. You know, he fought hard. He fought in World War II. He's been raising money for the NHS. And look, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to comment on this. Just let's see what the video says. Webmate Francis, it's important for him. That's all that matters. Yes, I agree. Matt says, if the swords aren't 2 meters in length, they won't need £100 fines.
And here come his family behind him. That is his daughter, Hannah, and son-in-law, Colin, and his grandchildren, Benji and Georgia as well. Couldn't quite hear what the monarch was saying to him there. It sounded like she was saying, what an amazing amount of money you have raised. I also understand that she has said to him, the 94-year-old monarch there said to recently turned 100, Sir Tom Moore. 100 is such a wonderful age. And the ceremony continues now. That sword, incidentally, belonging to the Queen's father, King George VI. Remember that Sir Tom Moore, as he is now, propelled into national fame after raising £33 million for the NHS. He walked 100 laps with that walking frame that we could see him using to advance there across the lawn.
So this is a very sweet story. I like the idea that he was knighted. Once again, I'm against this whole in theory, but it meant a lot for him, and I think it was fitting that he received that. So I'm glad about that. Okay, so let's move on to something related to something I've been talking about for a while, about the new normal. So this story about the British Airways retires Boeing 747 fleet as COVID-19 hits travel. So I don't know if any of you have been on the 747-400. I actually, when I traveled twice actually, it was once I traveled to the US many moons ago. I traveled on a British Airways, from Dublin to London, and then from Heathrow to Los Angeles, I think it was, on a British Airways, and it was a 747-400. But I was sitting on the lower deck, not on the upper deck. So just to give an example, no, not 747, but this is just to give an idea of how Concorde is back. Everyone's retiring 747 because it's this was planned to be retired in 2024, but because of COVID, we're seeing a new normal. But there's also another aspect in this story that I think is extremely interesting, or worrying in a sense. So it is the 747 jumbo jet will never grace the skies again in a Union flag. British Airways has confirmed, announcing the immediate retirement of the Boeing 747-400 planes. This was not actually the article I wanted to read, but okay. Okay, it was not actually the article I wanted to read. Or maybe they've updated it or something. I think they have updated it since I wanted to read it. But they were talking about how the airlines are moving to much smaller aircraft for efficiency, and also to reduce emissions, because these aircraft produce a huge amount of emissions. But also that here we go. Here is the part I wanted to talk about. So it says, along with the sculptured vulnerable planes, BA will also be shedding its multi-million-pound art collection, including works by Bridget Riley and Damien Hirst, in an attempt to raise funds. It has promised to take all measures to cut costs to face a bleaker future, after being branded a national disgrace for plans to axe up to 12,000 jobs and fire and rehire long-serving pilots and crew. So what's happening here is up to 12,000 jobs are being lost because of COVID, and because of I think mainly because of COVID and new patterns in flying, but also the problem of related to this is the idea that they're going to fire and rehire, of course, with new types of contracts. And this was something that Keir Starmer raised in Parliament on worst contracts. I agree. Glasgow Kiss, yes. This was something that Keir Starmer brought up in the House of Parliament that that Boris Johnson avoided, of course, because he knew that Keir Starmer was talking about something that's relevant to these staff members. But Boris Johnson is not interested in helping these people. If emissions are so important, why does Boris the Buffet want us all to travel to work instead of working from home? Because it's about protecting businesses, unfortunately, first. The Tories would claim those rehires as new jobs. Of course they will. Yes, it's all about cooking the books and showing, yes, we actually, we lost a certain number of jobs, but we rehired a huge number of people as well. Let me just read some of your comments. So Boris Trump, the forgotten Trump. I keep mixing them up. I keep confusing the two. Why is that? Why do I do that? They would pay them in hot towels. And you can only hope Johnson can make an agreement with the EU about airspace safety before the end of the year. I don't see that, Aaron. That's happening, Aaron. Fire and rehire is a disgrace. This will would be a trend towards many industries, throughout many industries. I agree. If imagine you have someone who's earning, I don't know, a pilot, 80 or 90,000 pounds a year, and you're able to force them out and rehire them as a rookie pilot, saying, well, these are the only contracts available. Do you want to work for, I don't know, £20,000 a year or £15,000 a year? I don't know what an entry pilot earns, but much lower than a seasoned pilot, I can definitely imagine. One of them graces the BAM emoji on Discord. B is falling apart anyway. This is just a 4-year plan brought forward. And I'm not, like, when I flew with, this was a long time ago. It was almost 20. It was about 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago when I flew with British Airways to the US. I thought it was a seasoned pilot covered in salt and pepper. I thought it was a really good airline. But of course, maybe since 9/11 and our patterns have changed a lot, so I imagine it's not the case. All the 4 jets are going away. 4 jet engine jets are going away. So we're moving to 2 instead. Now, I was reading an article about a possible electric plane being developed. So that would be something that would eliminate the issue of emissions, of course. New Yorker twins. But you need those. What if you lose 2 engines? Bring back balloons and zeppelins. Actually, that'd be really, really nice. Imagine zeppelins with Wi-Fi. You could say, okay, I'll go to the US, work from home, work from my Zeppelin trip. Be bloody awful. Now, of course, on the topic of how things are changing, electric planes are far, far away. Yeah, I think, of course, the problem of weight is a huge issue, of course, in aircraft, and you need a bigger battery for a bigger plane, and then a bigger plane needing a bigger battery increases more weight. So in order to compensate, you need a bigger battery, which, of course, creates more weight. I don't know if I can get this to work. Let me try. No. Okay, no, just... Oops. No, it's not working this way. Okay, apologies, just a moment. Try to go to the direct article. this article appears all black, I will attempt to... No, I'll do something different. Just a moment. Female robots. Window capture. So it says here, can I see? Okay, yes, you should be able to see. So it says here, robots are increasing the gender pay gap because women are more vulnerable to the adverse effects of automation, as study has found. So I've talked about this before on the stream, about how we need to have a UBI because automation and robotics are taking lots of jobs and they're going to take over most of the work. Oh, it's disappeared. No, it should be back. Oops. Okay. It says researchers at King's College London and the London School of Economics says the use of robots in the workplace has had a sizable detrimental impact on the gender pay gap in Europe. The study found that for every 10% increase in the number of robots being used by a company, there was a 1.8% increase in the conditional pay gap between male and female workers. But researchers did find that men and women saw their pay increase overall due to automation. The Office of National Statistics defines automation as tasks completely performed by workers being replaced with technology, potentially involving computer programs, algorithms, or robots. One of the report's authors, Dr. Jerry Ascoy, said, at a time when policymakers are putting increased efforts into tackling gender gaps in the labour market, our evidence is important. Our results suggest that governments not only need to ensure that education and vocational training systems provide people with the right skills demanded in the future, but we also need to pay attention to distributional issues. They need to increase efforts to make sure that women and men are equally equipped with the skills most relevant for future employability. So I think it's interesting how there's, this issue of the gender pay gap is also affecting automation. But it's interesting how salaries have increased since automation has arisen, and I think this is due to the fact that the people who are kept on are higher skilled, so they're able to beat the system in a way, the automated system, and because they're higher skilled, they're able to demand higher wages. But I think it's not a case that all of people in society's salaries are increasing. It's because the people within those companies' salaries are increasing, because the people at the lower end are just being let go. So it's not really helpful for everyone. It's just helpful for the people who are in a particular category that hasn't been outsourced to robotics yet or automation. My eyes can't stay open. Oh, Verti, no problem. So we're actually a little bit over the time on the stream tonight. So maybe just so we're getting very close to the end. Just another few minutes. Maybe we should just turn the women into robots. Problem solved. Low skilled jobs are easiest automated. Yes, and not even just so much low skill, but any repetitive job, I think, is one that can. Monsieur Robespierre, you are on fire tonight. Thank you very much, John. Thank you so much. It's the sun. I'm not actually on fire. It's very hot in here. It's been quite hot here in the last number of days here in Italy. Today was a little bit cooler than normal. Stop taxing me, tax the damn robots. And this is the way forward. For every object produced, we should have a particular robot tax, for example. Frank, get the door. We're almost there. Do you follow TLDR news? No, I haven't been following it, but I've seen some of the videos. A great Milan trade union leader commented that robots are great, but they do not buy cars. They are the cars. That will be the future, actually. I see a future where we actually have no one will actually own a car. You'll just use a car you'll pay for the car for the use you have of it. So if you need a car every Monday for 2 hours, you'll just pay for it for every Monday for 2 hours. You won't actually need to own a car, and it'll be a robotic car, a Google car. It will come to you. You get in it like a taxi, but without a driver. If you tax robots, may as well let them vote as well. No. No voting robots. We want them as our slaves. We don't want them voting. We've seen. Have you not watched almost any sci-fi movie since the beginning of time? The end of the commodity fetishism. The worth of gods would reflect the labor. That would sort out the problem. I agree. No super chat because YouTube are ass hatsy, but you can donate here though. Thank you so much for sharing that link, Glasgow Kiss, and to all of the mods for sharing the links tonight. I love iRobot. iRobot's a great movie. Different to the book, but it's a good movie. I raise a lot of questions, a lot of philosophical questions. Where Max can do his or her channel without worrying about monthly bills? Not sure if that. Sorry, I don't understand the comment. Women not getting high paid jobs is separate to the difference in pay between bosses and workers. We need the ones from Ex Machina to go mental and kill. I actually had an idea of a story. I'd began to write a story in many years ago. A short story about robots, but I never got around to. I got writer's block and I didn't get to finish it, but maybe I will sometime in the future. I'll give you guys a preview before, of course, I do ever release it. Okay, so guys, we're at I think we'll end the stream here tonight, but of course we have our one for the road. So thank you so much, Killer, for your one for the road. I was going to talk also a little bit about a statue, but I think we're getting a bit late now. But there was an interesting story about the statue, the one in Bristol that was pulled down. Then it was replaced by no Max breaking tonight. Close, but no cigar. There was a statue, of course, put up by a member of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter statue was put up, and it was taken down today. So it's an interesting time we live in. So things they are changing. So as we get to we're almost at the very end. I just want to show you this funny video. It's not our typical, our usual get the door, but just to do a little change for tonight. Let me just remove this. And then I will open up another one. This one.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Snivelling Turd, Junior Government Minister of Obsequious Arselicking. I just wanted to drop this video to say what an incredibly good job Bojo and his team are doing of managing this pandemic. We've been living with COVID-19 for 4 months now in this country, and it's only today that Boris has decided we should all be wearing masks, which is spot-on timing, just really rapid decision-making. I mean, some people might say that the best time to start wearing masks is at the beginning of a pandemic. You could argue that 4 months into a pandemic should be the point at which people are allowed to take their masks off again, rather than being told to wear them for the first time. But look, Bojo and his team have been so consistent and clear in their strategy for tackling this virus from the start that we have to respect their judgment. I mean, yes, this country's got one of the highest coronavirus death rates globally, but we shouldn't read too much into that. This Conservative government has been doing a great job of leading this country through the biggest crisis in living memory. And yes, under their stewardship, the crisis has got steadily much worse. But let's focus on the positives, yeah? 2 days ago, Michael Gove, the big G-man, said that wearing masks should be the choice of the individual. Now Boris is telling us we all have to wear them in shops. So it's great to see that everyone in the cabinet is on the same page and there are really clear lines of communication. The economy's in the toilet, things seem to be getting worse. Everyone's anticipating a huge second spike come winter time, so thank God our lives are all safely in the hands of these Tory legends. Just top quality people making all the right decisions. It feels great to be part of it. It feels like an honour to serve this extraordinary government team and work under probably the greatest Prime Minister of the modern era. Anyway, gotta go, guys. I've just jizzed myself.
Fantastic. I do recommend checking out this channel. It's Andrew Lawrence. He has some other videos which are extremely funny. So guys, thank you so much for coming on the live stream tonight. Thank you so much for all of your comments. Thank you so much also for your kind donations, and we've picked up, I think, 1 or 2 Patreons, so that's fantastic. So once again, thank you so much for all of your kind work on to the mods. Thank you so much for your kind work and your support on the channel. Thanks to everyone for your comments again. And I'll see all of you next Tuesday at the usual bat time on the usual bat channel. So as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert, stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night. See you soon.